Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Masters of Marketing. Now, for our long-time listeners or long-ish time listeners, we are very, very happy to welcome back Aidan Brannigan, who was on the show a year ago talking about leveraging the power of memes with the marketing millennials, but is now back as the founder of his own company, No Boring Brands. Aidan, welcome back to the Masters of Marketing.
Thank you for having me.
What?
I'm excited to be back.
We're very excited to have you back. Tell us, what is No Boring Brands?
In in like one sentence, we're a content agency that makes memes and skits for B2B SaaS companies. And we've kind of shifted that messaging a little bit to just niche brands instead of B2B SaaS, but our wheelhouse B2B SaaS. We've worked with brands like ClickUp, Palo Alto Networks, Apollo, Demandbase, Clay. Um,
So, really, really small
yeah,
companies, really, ones that barely anyone has heard of. All right, so that is brilliant. I personally am a big fan of skits and skits humor within marketing and advertising, and I love a meme
yeah,
in every sense of it. I'm just like, whether it's on kind of social media in the sense of personal or definitely business, I'm like, if it attracts me personally, I'm like, yes, like
yeah,
it's funny. I have no idea what the company is though. Like,
yeah.
and I think you kind of see a lot of companies these days are starting to embrace it more. But something that I do want to ask you about, because it is definitely your area of expertise, is some brands really don't. And there's a stigmatism, I think, of kind of fear behind that. What
Mhm.
do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the fear is totally real. Like when you get to a certain point as a brand, like any move you make, you almost have more to lose than to gain.
Mhm,
Like memes and like a humorous style of content is marginally more risky than going with a very basic content strategy. Like whether you're using graphics or like cool product shots or whatever, a testimonial. So there's a little bit
mhm,
more marginal risk, and it's completely fair that brands see that and feel that. Um, the way I always position it to brands, like we work with like a wide range of brands. Like we have a few brands that have, 10, 15, 30 employees. And then we have brands that have tens of thousands of employees. So there's a
oh,
wide
wow.
range. Um, so the dynamics there are different, but I still pitch it the same way where it's like using humor on social media, you can go down two routes. You can go the Duolingo route, the Slim Jim route, where you kind of become the class clown and like you're pretty
Mhm,
unhinged on social media and you risk your brand becoming a little bit of a joke, right?
yeah,
And that's one route. It works for brands in certain industries. Ryanair is phenomenal at this. I'm sure you're familiar with
yes.
Ryanair.
Oh,
Yeah.
familiar in all ways.
Yeah.
Love
Right.
them and hate them. It's Marmite for me. Yeah.
They're edgy, but they can do it. They're consumer facing and they're taking an incredibly distinct stance in the industry. And then the flip side, and when I'm talking to brands, I'm like, this is the route that our clients take. We use humor to signal understanding and awareness of your ideal customer's pain points without
Mhm,
your product or service in their life. So we're using humor to signal intelligence and understanding. It's what Ryan Reynolds does with every single campaign he runs for any company he owns or his movie he's promoting. So we go that route, and by framing it in their mind that like, hey, we're actually just like this content is customer first and everything is
mhm.
built around the customer's pain, and your customers or potential customers will see this and all they're going to be thinking is, oh my gosh, like that brand is highly intelligent. If they're aware of these minute experiences I'm experiencing day to day and they're showing me in their content, then I'm sure their product or service solves those pains.
Absolutely, and I love your example of Ryan Reynolds and that because that really is, it's very accessible to everybody, because
Yeah.
I don't think any of us would have managed to avoid him in movies, Netflix, like, I don't even live in the UK anymore, but suddenly he bought the football team of the
Yeah.
town, like, I'm next to, and I was like, "Where is all this coming from?" And I think the best example of this is, like, majority of people I know who drink gin, for example, they know of the brand Aviation Gin in Europe, and I'm not 100% sure it's even sold here.
Yeah.
That's how genius that this thing is, and you're completely right, it's the pain points that come through. Um, One thing I did want to ask though is that within marketing, and I think especially within this sort of attraction online, is there can be quite a slow approval cycles. How do you guys word around that? What do you advise with that? Because sometimes it can get to, let's say, the top level and someone just goes, I don't understand it. No.
Yeah, it's tough. So luckily we work with large like software companies, but there
Hmm.
transparently there's like levels to it. We have one client that is a $100 billion company. But surprisingly, they have a pretty high risk tolerance, and there's not
Hmm.
too many levels of approval that are required. There's a lady who runs their socials, and they have a few agencies they work with. We're one of the agencies, and if she gives a thumbs up, she throws it on the socials. Um, so respect to her. But most of the companies you work with, like our core group of customers, are like large scale startups where they still
Hmm.
have like scrappy mindset, yet they're doing 9 figures, 10 figures in revenue a year. Um,
Wow.
so like our approvals, we actually don't face too many levels of approvals. The way brands engage with us is as like a creative agency, and we just
Hmm.
make content and hand it off to them. As far as when it gets posted, we don't handle any of that. They have teams of their social.
Yeah.
But coming at it originally from the frame of mind of using humor to signal understanding and intelligence, it's usually way more likely that this content gets approval right off the bat. And we have multiple weeks of onboarding and just us synthesizing their brand, where they fit in the market, where they're
Mm.
looking to go before we create anything, so that there's not much feedback. Like the first piece of content they get their hands on is like, yes, this is what we've been missing. This is immaculate.
This is exactly what we want. Get it out there, throw it on socials.
Yeah.
I love it as well. I love that you mentioned that there's one woman just kind of controlling it for the socials, because that's also
She's a
kind
beast.
of that's it's kind of the dream, isn't it? It's just that thing
Yeah.
of going, yeah, she is the power. It's going out, get it past her, and we're all good. So yeah, kudos to her. Okay, so we talked shockingly a little bit about the negatives of it first, which isn't my usual style. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the power of meme marketing. So what can it do just for the brand itself?
So one thing that I strongly believe is that, right, word of mouth marketing is the highest trust form of marketing, right?
Yeah.
When you mention a brand to your friend, like the trust level they're going to have with that brand now because you recommended them is incredibly high, right? Like I have a certain mattress. It's because my friend mentioned and recommended this mattress.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of their ads or anything. I was just like, all right, he's someone I model my life after because he's a beast. I'm gonna buy the mattress. Um,
Absolutely. I think like all my gym stuff is from recommendations of friends who have been doing the gym longer. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
I know the advertising, but if I see it, I'm like, and if my friend goes, this is really good, I'm like, take
Like,
my
all right,
money.
let's do it.
Just go.
So we view shares on social media as the 2025 version of word of mouth marketing. So when you see a
Ah.
post on social media and you share it to your best friend and it's in her DMs, she sees that post, it's hilarious. She sees the brands that post that brand that posted it. That brand
Hmm.
is now cemented in her mind. Let me check it out. Like, let me scroll through, boom, boom, boom. And the way we do this, because most of our brands we work with are like SaaS companies, we're creating
Hmm.
content so that people in their jobs, like whoever is going to be buying and using this product, will want to send it to their coworkers. So they're sending it in Slack, or they're sending it to their best friend that does the same job as them at a different company.
Hmm.
That's one of the biggest benefits of memes, and that just helps with the top of funnel awareness and the social metrics, which are important. Um, that is actually what I would say is like the coolest thing
It's
about
the
it.
superpower of it. And you're completely right. It's okay. So what sort of memes would you then recommend? You know, like kind of if you were I'm saying recommend, obviously every brand is different. I'm not saying this is a one size fits all, but like if you were to go for a type of meme, like what would you focus on?
So this is kind of a hot take that our agency has taken a stand on. Most of the brands and just in general, like there's this theme of like the burnt out marketer. Like every
Hmm.
marketer always has too much on their plate. Their
Yeah.
to dos and their KPIs are always extremely high. They're doing the job of 6 people and it's just them. Um,
Yeah.
so I always tell, and when I'm talking with social media marketers and marketers in general, it's like optimize for efficiency. You need to be creating content that you can do it at scale. Or if you, yeah, you need to be able to do it at scale for a while. Um, So don't be a TMZ. Don't keep up with what Taylor Swift did this week, where you're creating a
Okay.
meme on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce just got engaged. Okay, how can we apply this to our super niche offer and then make a meme about it? Because the next day, that meme is completely irrelevant because that
Yeah.
trend went and came. So the advice I'd give is create evergreen memes. So these are memes that if you posted 3 years from now, they're still relevant to your niche and industry, and they're funny. So instead of like it's like being the Wall Street Journal, where they have levels of analysis on fundamental
Mm.
topics throughout the world, like things that don't change, like healthcare in the US or like the car industry in the US versus a TMZ where it's like, what did Brad Pitt eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
You want to skew more towards the Wall Street Journal where you're creating content that has a longer shelf life. So you want to create memes that have a longer shelf life. And to do that, you have to ignore the trends, ignore the trending templates, find like some old school or like templates that have always been around and the topics that have always been around in your industry and pair the two
Hmm.
together. That's what I'd recommend if you're like a scrappy marketer, you have so many things on your plate and you do want to dip your toes into this content. Um, and then another piece of that, the best memes are memes that are rooted in pain points. So
Hmm.
get entirely clear with the pain points your target audience is feeling. And that's what you need to be centering all the memes about. It's not like a meme where it's like, oh, your life without this service, but your life with our service. Like that's dumb. You need to be making memes
Yeah.
about pain points because those are more widely recognizable, and that's what will get people to share it versus like you're a super branded meme.
I mean, I suppose then I mean, obviously you're talking about like kind of evergreen content, like stuff that people will recognize. And in my mind, and this is maybe just how I've worked with memes, is that a lot of that's rooted in nostalgia. Like the two that always come to my head with exactly what you're explaining is the one of the cartoon Spider-Man pointing at each other, which they then even exactly like both of us just like,
Yep.
which they even brought back in one of the Spider-Man movies. You know, like this meme went on for so long and so many generations of people knew
Yep.
about it. Even if you weren't a comic book nerd, even if you weren't that obsessed, like everyone knew it. And then
Hmm.
the other one is like almost, I don't know if it's cross generational. It's maybe a bit more like cross cultural interests. Is there was a meme floating around a while ago, based in Harry Potter, and it had they were in this is really where my Harry Potter nerd comes out. They're in the flying car, and like Ron's in one picture looking terrified, and then the other picture is actually I think Dom from Fast and Furious. So
Okay.
it's like this
Yep.
crossover, but like these movies originally came out like 20 years ago.
Yep.
And I think from what you're saying, like kind of nostalgia can come into a big part of this with like you said, like the strappiness if you can stockpile. Do you think
Yep.
that's accurate? Like, does I always think nostalgia with evergreen content.
Yeah. So I mean, like there's levels to it. What I
Mhm,
would say is you want your ideal customer to see themselves in the meme. So for an example, let's say you're a company and your target buyer is a 35-year-old mother of two who's pregnant with her third. Like obviously that's super
mhm.
specific. You're not going to be wanting to use meme templates of LeBron James, right? Dunking
Yeah,
and like hitting a game winner and somehow you use like a meme template around that. Yes, there's mothers who are super into the NBA, but like you need to be skewing and like making some generalizations. All right, maybe we should be using some Mean Girls templates, right? That's
yeah,
probably super pivotal and crucial to that age group's like upbringing, the nostalgia piece. But they can also just see themselves in the meme, right? Like
yeah,
it that's another level to it. So if you're a software company making memes for IT directors who are 55, white, and they live in the US, find like memes where the people in the meme are around that age, around that demographic, and it's an American culture focused meme.
yeah.
There's like definitely levels to it. Like you don't see um, like TSA in the US, it's like a government
Mhm.
agency. Their social media is absolutely hilarious. And every single meme they make is focused on the products that they find in TSA. So TSA is like the airport security.
Really?
So like
Ah,
it makes sense. So yeah.
I love that. There's one that I came across, which is a nightclub somewhere. I want to say the UK, and like their whole advertising thing is things people have left in a club.
Yeah.
after a Friday or Saturday night. And it's almost like kind of embarrassing to watch because you do just kind of stand there going, oh my God, I was that person. Like, it's not advertising the club. It's not doing this as an amazing place to go. It's like almost that deep rooted embarrassment of, oh God, no, like that was me, or my friend did that, or what on earth even is that? It's all of that. And I love that, like you said, the TSA example.
Yeah, and, like, we've all been there where we leave something somewhere, and it's like, okay,
Hmm.
they're doing 2 things at once. They're marketing, it's incredibly
Yeah.
different, which is another piece to your question earlier about why memes are phenomenal is the differentiation piece. Like,
Hmm.
at its fundamentals, like, marketers' roles, their job is to give people a reason to give a crap about what they're talking about. And one of the
Yeah.
best ways to do that is differentiation. Memes are a phenomenal vessel to differentiate when it comes to social media.
Hmm.
So that's what they're doing at the nightclub. I think that's hilarious. Versus, I know all their competitors are probably doing pictures of like the bottle girls or whatever deals they have on drinks.
Hmm.
Where guys are like they're posting a picture of a sock on the floor and be like, "Who left this?" And it's just
You're
like,
right. It's a sock that's on social media. Yep. Yep. We're going with that. Like it's
I'm sure it's super edgy, but, yeah,
No, there probably has been, and like it's yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's exactly this. It gets people talking, and it's as simple as I want to say it's like people say that you need to see something like 10 times before you even click onto the brand, right?
mm,
Like it's somewhere between 5 and 10 times you need to see something that engages you. Like however you're doing that, and humor will engage people a lot more than a random sales
yeah,
post, like
yeah.
for lack of a better word. So, okay, do you have any like best practice examples then? I mean, you and I have been mentioning kind of companies as we go, but which ones like really have stood out to you for doing it? While Ryan Reynolds aside.
Uh, so, like, I'm in the SaaS world, so ClickUp,
Hmm.
it's like a project management software,
Yes.
phenomenal. They do, like, a skit series now. They do make memes and everything, but they've built
Hmm.
a few, micro channels that have just built up audiences of these ClickUp skits that they make. The Clay is another good example, that's another software company.
Hmm.
Um, Motion Creative Analytics is another software company. They make a bunch of memes. They're really good. And then obviously we mentioned like Duolingo gets a lot of praise. I'm not like I don't study too much what they do. I think they're a
Hmm.
unique case where they're able to do that. Their strategy of socials because their branding plays into that playful, like jokey, casual
Yeah.
brand which not a lot of brands fall into that. So I like to lean towards like the TSAs of the world where it's a government
Yes.
agency in a very sensitive topic of like, one of our nation's tragedies was 9/11 and TSA is put
Yeah.
in place to prevent that from happening again. But TSA's social strategy is funny. So I like to look at those brands where it's like, there's no
Hmm.
way they can make jokes. And then they do. I know I'm rambling here, but like the Grand Canyon, there's like the National Park Services. If you look up these like government agencies on Twitter or Instagram, they're freaking hilarious. Um,
The one that comes into my head is, I think, and this is where I'm really going to show the fact that I look at the memes and not the company. Is there's I want to say online banking called Mondo or Mundo, and
yep.
they started
Entourage.
doing something. Yes, and I don't know if you've seen they have a tangent account now, which is Dread from Mondo,
Mm,
and
mm,
like it's
I've seen that.
oh check him out. Like I'm saying him, it should be like a whole created thing,
That's like a
and
UK brand, right? The banking company.
UK, it's either UK or EU. This is I'm not 100% sure. This is the problem. Well, I say it's the problem. It's a really good example of how this works because I'm aware of them
Yep.
because of the channels and because of what they're putting out and because it makes me laugh and because I'm engaged and it's a mix. Like in fairness, they do a mixture more of memes and written posts rather than like memes and skits like you guys focus on. But it's a very good example, I think, of the fact that I'm going, I know them well enough that I can go find them. But yeah, I'm not actually quite recalling the name, which means I probably need to see them a bit more.
Yeah.
But I now associate them with something that I'm not even looking for. Like, I'm not looking for another bank. Like, I'm happy with my bank, but
Yeah. But
somehow I know about them. Like, it's
tough. Like I don't know about the like insurance companies in like
Mhm.
the EU, but in the US, like have you heard of Progressive? You ever heard of
Yes. Yeah.
Progressive and like Flow from Progressive?
Yeah.
So they kind of like set a trend off where insurance companies, no one wants to hear about insurance, but all of their campaigns now are humor led because that's the only reason why people would pay attention. There's this brand called Allstate, and for a
Hmm.
while they've battled this issue of like people know their commercials, but they didn't know it was tied to Allstate. So there was like this bridge, like they were being
Yeah.
very funny and they were arguably the best commercials, but no one knew it was Allstate making the commercials.
Oh, no
That's
way.
why, like, when we work with companies, like, yes, I love making funny content, memes and
Mm.
skits, boom. But where we see the most success is when the companies pair it with their other content, and it's not
Yes.
just them making this type of content. Um, so that's probably on Monzo or Mondo. That brand needs to do some more education in tandem with the edutainment they're doing with the memes and skits or whatever it is.
I love that. It's just like us putting it out there going, you want me as a customer? I need to know more about like what you do, but like don't sell to me. It's you're so close. Like and I
Yeah.
was like, I do feel like I am the target audience for it. Okay, so obviously we've been talking about how humor is a very, very good thing. But I am sure maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit, there are times which it should not be used.
Yeah.
Like there's crises, there's high. You've spoken about high trust industries, but like them or like when execution speed like isn't quite there, maybe like when would you say not to use this? Is there
Uh,
industries where you know this wouldn't work for? Like
yeah.
it's yeah.
There's one industry that I have not been able to wrap my head around how we could even touch this. I had a call yesterday, and
Hmm.
I'll speak about that other point for later, but it was with a campaign that was being run for diabetes, and it was a
Hmm.
humor-led campaign for diabetes and cancer. And so they were like,
Okay.
"How do you feel about making funny content about both and like cracking jokes about both?" And I was like, I'd have to see it. Like that
Hmm.
is very sensitive. Like, um,
Yes.
but I can see a gap there, maybe, like maybe.
Hmm.
So that is one where I'm like toting the line. And we're still talking with that brand. Um, but one that like for sure I have not been able to crack is elderly care. And obviously that's very
Oh
specific.
yeah.
Thinking about it for a while, but
Yeah.
I just don't think it makes any sense. So, like, we're thinking like nursing homes or even like
Hmm.
hospitals. Like, what would they get from cracking jokes? Nothing, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so that's an industry where it's like the elderly care industry is one. Like, I've spoken with some nursing homes that are like have chains throughout the U.S. and like see if we could do something. It just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
It's a
And I
very
like that you're being so transparent about that of going like it's, generally the bigger the brand enterprises, it would work amazingly, but it
yeah.
has to be sorry, it has to be taken with a grain of salt. Like it's not going to be the absolute fit for everybody, and maybe even it shouldn't be. Hot
Yeah,
take as well. Like
if we're thinking nursing homes, it's a very sensitive and like
yeah,
tough moment for everyone. Like most people going into nursing homes don't want to be going into the nursing homes. The families putting the elderly person in the nursing homes probably don't want to be putting them in the nursing home. Like it's like who's even the buyer there? We don't know. Like
yeah.
it's just a lot. So that's definitely one. But for the most part, every other industry I would say is pretty fair play, and like
Hmm.
even governments have proven that they can use humor subtly, whether it's like from their president's account or like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but that's the one caveat I'd say where I haven't been able to crack that mentally.
Well, and anyone listening, if you have any ideas, any genuine ideas that if you can track it, leave a comment
Yeah,
underneath because that
I
would be we'd both love to know.
yeah,
And it
and
might even be that light bulb moment of going, oh my God, yes.
I have a nursing home, like, I don't wanna say chain, I don't know, but, like, a company that
Hmm.
has a bunch of locations throughout the US. I know someone on their marketing team that I've been talking about with this, so we could do something, but I just
Putting it out there, and anyone who can do this, there's potentially a partnership, a job, something could come up.
mhm,
I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna then put out like a little like hypothetical. I'm the big boss of a huge enterprise, international, everything else, and we've been using meme marketing, humor marketing, and then we hit a crisis, like a PR crisis.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this for, let's say, 2-3 years, and it's working really well. But crisis hits, someone does something that they shouldn't have done, and that goes everywhere. What would you say at that point? Because that is, I think, I think this is going way back to the beginning now when we're talking about fears, but this is something that
Oh
happens.
yeah. Oh
What
yeah.
would you say to do?
The I I'm so confident this is the best route to manage that.
Hmm.
Um, it's you need to first look at, all right, this PR crisis. Who is mad at us? Who is
Hmm.
mad? Are they our buyers or potential buyers? Are they pissed at us? If they're not, then who gives a crap? Let them be pissed. Let them
Yeah.
amplify your brand and tear you down or whatever, or try to tear you down. If they're not going to buy from you in the first place, then it's perfectly fine that they're upset with what you're doing. That's
Hmm.
called having a niche. When you need to address it and like come out with a statement, I see is when your like current clients or potential buyers and your ICP is raising a flag and like this is not cool.
Hmm.
And path I would take if I was a big brand is to come out and say, "Hello, we messed up." Just like with our product or service, how we constantly take your feedback in to make our product and service better for you, we're doing that with our messaging as a brand as well. Thank you for your feedback. In the moment, we believed what we said. We are not taking it down, but moving forward, we will be better. And just leave it like that.
Hmm.
Wouldn't backtrack like at all. You just like step on it, own it. You screwed up. It's okay.
So really be human with it.
Be human with it, and what that does is it shows confidence as a brand,
Hmm.
and you're not backtracking, because if you're backtracking on your messaging, you show like indecisiveness as a brand, which then subconsciously communicates to buyers that you might have indecisiveness when it comes to your product.
Hmm.
And you don't want that. Like, you want people to know your product is the crap and like does the job it's supposed to do. So you want to be confident, but like humble confidence, and like acknowledge that you screwed up and tell them that, hey, we're taking your feedback and we will be better moving forward. But don't backtrack. That's the way I would go about it.
Hmm.
Obviously, I've never ran a humongous company. So I'm sure with a bunch of different pressures with investors, it's different. But like, in a perfect world, that's how I'd respond.
That's how you do it. Well, if I ever run into a PR crisis with my hypothetical company, I will let you know how that goes.
I'm coming from a lens of like, I have been tried. People have tried to cancel me once. I
Oh,
did
really? Wow.
in this summer. I bought a fake software, like
Hmm.
intentionally. It's called Layoff Bot, which was a software that you could use to lay off your staff with the click of a button. Horrible concept,
What?
right?
That's I sorry of everything. Like my face just changed. Then I was like, that's horrible. Like that. Oh, okay. Yep. Yep.
So there's this dude that came out with a landing page, like it was a fake software. So I bought
Yeah.
it from him, and I was like, I'm gonna run with this landing page and run with a campaign where we're saying like we're launching this layoff bot tool. But
Okay.
on the landing page, any button you click, like book a demo or like learn more, it just takes you to my website. And at the top of my website, it says, "Did we get you? LOL."
Hmm.
No, that cruel layoff bot isn't real.
Yeah.
And so we hired a bunch of UGC creators to post on TikTok. We worked with we worked with 5 accounts on Instagram that have over 2 million followers to repost the story. I was posting on LinkedIn. We had some trolls who were commenting in Reddit. It was like a multi-channel campaign to push like this layoff bot, with
Hmm.
the hopes that people see it, they click on layoff bot, then they click the button, they're like, "Oh, they got me. Like, this was a joke." All right,
Yeah.
respect. It went super viral. It was supposed to be a 7-day campaign, and we had like 130, 140 pieces of content for it.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Day 2, it went too viral. I was getting doxxed. My parents' house was getting doxxed, so people were releasing my parents' address. They're sending
Oh
me
my
screenshots
God.
of my parents' house on Google Earth. It was like screwed up. I was getting random text messages, people sending me pictures of myself that I was like, I don't know how they got that. Until I was like, all right, this is bad. So
Yeah.
met with all the creators. I was like, we're flipping the script here. We're gonna let everyone know that it is fake, which we were gonna do on the back half
Hmm.
of the campaign. We just did it early.
You just
Um,
had to bring it way up, I guess.
yeah. So, but like, uh, so that I was getting canceled for a little bit. I still get DMs on TikTok of people asking me to die and everything, but like I don't backtrack on it. Like it was a campaign we ran,
Yeah.
and
It's the dark side of memes, everybody. Like that's it's such a brilliant like from someone listening, it's such a brilliant story because I think you've really brought into like everything that could go around and like how to kind of go through it and this can happen. And oh my god, it's such a good story as well. Like in the best way possible. Like
it was hilarious.
it's wow. Oh, I'm so sorry you're still getting messages about that, but like damn. Damn.
It's part of the game.
True. It is. It is. And there's like, people can brands can often find things change overnight. I mean, I think the best example is the Coldplay concert. Like, what are the odds? What are the odds of that happening? And
Yeah.
then that becomes, I mean, I think that's kind of a good example of what you're saying about not jumping on the bandwagon of like kind of a meme that's going to go out of date. Like, it is out of date. Like, a lot of people that you can't use that meme now. Like, no one will care. But so many companies jumped into it, and then so many kind of ethical and moral questions came out of that. But like, and this is the thing. I know everything about it. I don't really remember the company now because I'm like, why would I? But who could have seen that coming?
It was wild. Now I see like videos from Coldplay's concerts like every week now of like people on the jumbotron. It's like a theme now.
It's like a theme, and people are like jumping away, and I'm like, honestly, all this has done is just made me go, oh yeah, maybe I'll listen to Coldplay on Spotify
Yeah,
again. Like
yeah.
this is
Maybe that was their play the whole time. They're like, we need more listeners, so let's catch someone cheating.
let's catch someone cheating and like just their Spotify. But I mean, honestly, if that was it at the back of it, whoever devised that, brilliant. Okay, so before we wrap up, what would you say is like so if someone's listening to this well, to the people who are listening to this podcast and they want to bring kind of memes into and humor into their marketing, but they have a conservative management, or maybe even like we've got CMOs who are listening to this now because they are part of our ICP, who are not sure if it's the right fit for them. Like, what would you say to get started?
It's a good question. You need to be incredibly familiar with your pain points, and so
Mhm.
uh, it's like outlining the pain points, picking the one or two that are most prevalent, and like humor doesn't have to be in the form of memes and skits. Like you can give cold calling scripts to your sales guys that add a little bit of humor, and like that can be a touch point your brand has with a buyer that is funny, or it
Hmm.
could be adding a little bit of witty copy on your website header and just like
Yeah.
test it out, see how people react, or maybe changing the tone of your customer support chatbot to have a little bit of fun, like humor to it. So like getting creative with ways to have witty or clever touch points with your customers is like how I would get into it first, instead of just being like,
Hmm.
here humor content strategy. We're going to be posting 5 memes a week, 2 skits, and it's going to be everywhere. And people are going to be like, oh my God, no. Just be like, hey, can I change this like copy on the website to this? Like, let's try it. Um,
Yeah.
to just slowly build up. Because most of the brands we work with have slowly built up to wanting to create content under their brand accounts that is humor led.
Hmm. Okay. Nice. I really like that. So definitely having the experimental
Yeah,
side of it there. And yeah, I really
and
like that.
thanks. And framing it though to that same point of like your brand becoming a joke versus using humor to signal awareness and
Hmm.
intelligence. Like using that for sure.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize actually because you said about bringing it in potentially with like cold calls. I never thought of doing that. I just never did. But I've realized that one company was reaching out to me on LinkedIn, and the usual like I knew everything was automated. They were getting my name wrong, but it was the same spelling mistake each time, and I'm like, okay, like please check whichever automation you're using. And they started to bring in like memes and stuff in there, and aside from the fact that their automation didn't work for me at all because I was like, you've got a lot wrong in there. And then one of their ones I'm realizing now is they were pushing for humor, but it came across to me as extremely rude. And I was
Mm.
just like, you don't know me, but like, you've kind of like really pissed me off. But it's worked. Like I'm remembering them. Like
So yeah,
it's an
that's
angle. I was like, it's meant to be humor. And I'm like, as you're saying it, I'm like, I now see the angle they were going for didn't work. Like,
yeah.
however they worded it was just wrong. But as you were saying, I was like, yeah, maybe that was what they were going for.
That's why humor is a good signal of intelligence, because if you are not acutely aware of the intricacies of whoever you're speaking to or the experiences they have,
Mhm.
it comes off as like ignorant or cold or cringe, like
Mm.
doing to you. But also, there's three things too. Like if you're trying to get your brand or like leadership bought in, that you can just basically ensure, and it minimizes risk, is like, hey, everything we do, sorry, just a timer go off, is
No problem.
we're not gonna reference politics. We're not gonna use any political figures in the memes or any of the skits or any references to
Mhm.
politics,
Yeah.
religion, and then we're not gonna punch down. So we're not gonna make fun of anyone who can't defend themselves in the moment. And then that makes it just
Yes.
like, all right, if you just cross off those three obvious solutions, it makes it way more palatable to like the executives be like, all right, we're using humor as a community builder, not as a laughing at. It's more of like a laughing with.
So go against any rules that any stand-up comedian might use.
Uh, Yeah, like yeah, that's what like I do consider myself funny, but I could not do stand up comedy. Like different types of humor.
You're like, I can sit there and I can enjoy it. Like, they didn't even make jokes about me. Like,
Oh yeah,
I guess I'm one of those weirdos. I love them kind of interacting with me. But if someone tried to get me to do it to them, I'd go, no, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. I'm going to Shane Gillis Friday, and I'm that's like professional development for me. I get to see his pacing and how he communicates
Hmm.
with certain people, and so that'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a brilliant conversation. And I know that because we've run over our usually agreed upon time. But thank you so much, Aidan, for joining. We'll be dropping the link to your LinkedIn profile and to No Boring Brands underneath. So everyone should definitely go check them out. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. It was really good. This has been Masters of Marketing, and be sure to tune in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode. Bye.
Peace.